Willie's your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Where are all my peeps? Where are all my YouTubers? All we have a lot of right now is our Twitchers, or Xers, I guess. Twitch, a couple. Hey, folks. Anyway, we're going to have a great show for you today. I have a good video that I did at KPFT this morning, as well as I want to talk to you about, Lina Khan. And of course, I want to show you something about sovereign currencies that we've talked about here before that we need to talk over again until we can kind of inculcate it into people's minds. But anyhow, thank you guys for being here. Please remember, share. Go ahead and give us that up arrow on YouTube. Go ahead and give us that like and share on both YouTube and Facebook. And don't forget Twitter. Go ahead and give us that share. Retweet is what we call it on Twitter. Retweet, as well as a like, a heart. Please, that's how we are going to get this message out. That is how we are going to be able to continue with our messaging. Anyway, folks, how's everybody doing today? I trust everybody's doing just fine. Anyway, welcome aboard E2247 from all over the world. Let's say welcome aboard to Eric Hayes from Atascocita, Kingwood. Welcome aboard Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Welcome aboard Maywood from Long Beach, California. Welcome aboard Paul Fleming. Paul, I saw you this morning, and with pitching and all of that, I forgot to salute you this morning. Thank you for being there, my brother, Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia. And of course, the one and only AVQ Macarotin from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard to the program. I guess, sometimes if you don't put something brash in your headlines, people kind of pass you by. But come on, folks. Come on in, our YouTubers. Where are you? Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with some of what you have to say. Let me go to E2247 first, because E2247 is picking a bone with Brother Tom Zarnik. And what is that bone? He said, Egberto, a limerick is a 5 cheaply anapestic verses of which lines 1, 2, and 5 are of 3 feet, and line 3 and 4 are of 2 feet, with a rhyme scheme of AABBA. And then he says, Tom is not sending you limericks. See one below. And I'm going to read his limerick. It says, an anapest is a let's see. There was an old man from Kent. He was to the bar, a gent. He stayed on his feet so he'd not fall asleep. And then he went home quite spent. That's a limerick. And Tom Zarnik would tell you, I know that. I am taking liberties with the ones that I write. In fact, I'm even elongating some. And he did tell me that. He said, some of my limericks aren't in the official term of the word limerick, but in spirit, it's a limerick. E2247 goes on to say, an anapest is a metrical foot consisting of 2 short syllables followed by 1 long syllable, or of 2 unstressed syllables followed by 1 stressed syllable, such as unaware, not asleep. A limerick is 5 lines with distinctive rhythm where first, second, and fifth lines are longer than third and fourth. Lines of and rhyming pattern is AABB. Longer A lines rhyme with each other, and shorter B lines rhyme with each other. Okay, I get it. And you're right. Again, Tom, when Tom comes on, I'm pretty sure Tom will talk a little bit about that and tell you what he's doing as well. Okay. But thank you for that, E2247. Actually, I'm glad that you went ahead and did the full explanation. I kind of had an idea how it was set together, but not as precise as you just stated it, my brother. Thank you. All right, I need to sneeze. Oh, that was a sneeze. Had to get it out. Don't know what happened there. Anyway, Paul Fleming says, new Minnesota AG sues contract for deed seller who allegedly targeted Muslim community. The complaint, which alleges violations of lending laws and religious discrimination, follows a ProPublica and Sanhan Journal investigation. And if I'm not if I remember correctly, I spoke with the Attorney General of Minnesota in when I went to Netroots. What's his name again? You know who I'm talking about. Attorney General of Minnesota. I can't remember his name now. Let me go ahead and look it up. Attorney General of Minnesota is, let's see, it's my buddy. Keith Ellison. I interviewed Keith Ellison, and he was talking about all these different schemes that occurs in Minnesota that he had to take to court. And I imagine this is one of them as well. You can check out that interview on our YouTube channel. Just search for Keith Ellison, and you'll see we spoke about issues like this when I interviewed him at Netroots Nation 2023, I believe. All right, continuing, we have, shocking. MSNBC analysts can't wrap her head around polls suggesting voters think Biden is greater threat to democracy than bad orange man. MSNBC political analyst Susan Del Percio found polling suggesting more than 50% of independents view President Joe Biden as a greater threat to democracy than former President Donald Trump. Shocking as she struggled to explain the result. Listen, the polls are very interesting today, right? Because there are two dynamics happening here. One is first of all, who answers polls these days? A lot of people are in the funk. And likewise, if you take a look at the top numbers, you see that the people that are going to say he's a threat to democracy are generally shift right quite a bit. And also there's a group of people that are completely out of these polls. And that are the younger folks. That is a lot of minorities. They're completely out of the polls. Right now, we have a system where the people that are the people that most feel aggrieved shouldn't, but they do. And the polls reflect that. I spoke a little bit about that at KPFT this morning. And it's something that Democrats and progressives have to address. There is a strong notion. Let me see how to put this appropriately diplomatic. There is a group of indoctrinators that are trying to make a large percentage of white people feel as if they're losing something. One, that is theirs. Two, that they really never had. The plutocracy always had it. It simply made them believe at some point they could get it. And as such, the reason they don't have it now is because of those others. We have to dispel that notion. We're all in the same boat. And we're all in the same boat being guided by the same plutocratic animals that have and create dissension throughout our society. So as soon as we get, and that is why progressives have to go into all parts of this country, Appalachia, the ghettos, the barrios. You got to get to all these different areas because that is a notion that's occurring right now. Okay, let's see. Melanie Keelan says, Happy Tuesday, our beautiful Miss Keelan. Michael Ryan says, Eric, think about it. What has Biden done against our democracy that even comes close to the January 6th violent failed insurrection? And that's an issue, Radnin. When you have a right-wing propaganda engine trying to tell you that the January 6th had a purpose, that purpose was because of the loss of the democracy for this particular group of people. That's what it's all about. It's an indoctrination. It's the same reason Hitler came to power. It's the same reason of a whole lot of these tyrants came to power. And it's our job to get that out. When I was doing a lot of pitching this morning at KPFT, both for my program Politics Done Right and for You Talk, and a little bit through Democracy Now. And a lot of people don't get it. This is real. And there are a lot of people that have real fears. And we can discount them as being, how can you really think that? But when you were fed a lie and been indoctrinated all of your life, and honesty hadn't come out, it reflects itself in who you're willing to put into office. Somebody who can do the dirty work for you. You can't do it because it's not in your character. It's not a real human character to go out there and be slash earth. But you want somebody to slash the earth for you. It is like those of us who eat meat, right? Could you kill a cow? Could you kill a pig? I couldn't. I don't have it in me to kill another kind of a fleshy human being, or fleshy being, right? But I love pork and chicken, you know. Now, if somebody else couldn't do that dirty work for me, I would be a vegetarian. And I mean, that's the thing. You fool people into thinking that they're at risk. And even though deep inside they know not really, maybe, I don't know, but then they're being told that they are, but they can't do the dirty job to excise themselves from that which they think is causing them harm. And then they get a strong man, Donald Trump. Of course, he's a weak bastard, but they get a strong man, or one that purports to be strong, to go out there and do the job for them. And they're okay with it. He can do no wrong because his wrong doesn't matter as long as he's taking care of us. Paul Fleming says, in America, rushed to build a nuclear arsenal during the Cold War. Safety was sacrificed for speed. In 2022, we cataloged cleanup efforts at the 50 plus sites where uranium was processed to fuel the nation's nuclear arsenal. At least 84% of these sites have polluted groundwater, and nearly 75% of either no liner or only a partial liner between male waste and the ground, leaving the susceptible to leaking pollutions into groundwater. That's what we do all the time. Sad. It is very, very sad. Michael said, Eric, if you think CNN is any leftist favorite source, you're demonstrating that you don't know your opposition. Nope, not CNN, not even MSNBC. In fact, MSNBC has a name that's called, they usually call it MSDNC, because it's not really what leftists really look at or look up to. All right, let's see. Tom C is in the house, and he comes out and he says what we knew. He says, E2247 is technically right. I'm writing extended limericks. They're actually rhyming rants. Sorry to all the poetry purists in the PDR posse. No. I love your limericks, and I love the extended limericks because it's actually more fruitful, more descriptive. And you know what? I never believe in following, I write books, as you know, as well. I have 5 books out. And one of the things that came out is Brother Tom C, reading my book, came out and said, hey, you can't say it this way. This is grammatically wrong. Or this is, I didn't go to Bruce did some editing on one of my books. Again, one of our PDR Posse members here. But the last book that I wrote, The Revelations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man, I edited it myself, and there are a couple of typos that were in the first version of the book. And somebody came and corrected it, and we made that correction. And some people would say, how dare you put out a book that had a typo? Well, it's only me. And I'm trying to get message across. I'm not trying to be a literary scholar. All right. I like doing things in crowdsourcing. That is not professional. Yes, it is. It may not be scholarly, as for some people who don't want mistakes, but, it's what I do. My big job is really, let's make this a better country. In making this a better country, some of the things that I say may be grammatically incorrect, or, but you know what? We know what we're trying to do. So, Tom, I love your extended limericks, brother. Love them. Michael Rodden says, oh, here all the time you say, hey, Egberto, you want to tell Eric what you think about CNN? Eric doesn't understand that leftists are usually anti-corporate. Guess what CNN is? Very much corporate. Again, he knows. I've spoken to Eric for hours. He knows. But Eric is on a on a permanent loop in his mind. He keeps regurgitating the same things over and over again. It doesn't matter what new data comes in. He just keeps on the data that he recorded from the right wing, and it just keeps coming out in a cycle. Whoops, whoops, whoops. But we love Eric. All right, we love Eric. All right, let's see. For Rudnin, Jacob Tapper is an American journalist, author, and cartoonist. He's a lead Washington anchor of CNN, host of the weekday television news show, The Lead with the Jake Tapper. I like Jake Tapper. So what's the issue? All right, let's see what else we got here. Lee Grant says 2247 is right. A limerick has a specific structure, as does a sonnet, a Japanese haiku, etc. Not every poetic ditty is a limerick. Well, again, I think my brother made his case. Bruce Pollard is in the house. How you doing, Bruce? Great to see you here. Let's see what else we got here. Recovered earth science, chemistry, biology, environmental stud, theology, religion, and English teacher here. So that's why I got onto the limerick definition and description. And I love that we have experts in the house. Maybe you should go ahead as well and be an editor of my book. Get a copy and fix it up. And if you see something that you think must change, let me know. I love critiques. I love that. Eric Hayes says, no issue. You leave economy alone and let people alone to live their lives. You can't leave economy alone, Eric. You cannot. All right, let's see. Mike Cesek is in the house. How you doing, Mike? He says, Eric Hayes, but leftists can't leave people alone. It's in their nature to control other people. Okay, I'm waiting for Rudnin to respond. Who is controlling people? Who tells a woman what she can do with her body? Who tells people what they can and cannot read? Who tells people who can be teachers or not? Who are the one telling people what to do? I'd leave the rest of that for Rudnin to continue. All right. But Michael Rudnin says, Egberto, yep, MSNBC, it's been called MSDNC, is common both among the left and the right. Leftists do it because we don't like corporate news. Conservatives call it that because they think the Democratic Party is left. It's funny, isn't it? You just said it right, though, brother. They think the Democratic Party is right. And they're definitely not right. So what can I say? Somebody is texting me and then saying, hello, old friend. Who is this that is texting me and say, hello, old friend? Anyway, folks, let's continue with my narrative here. With what's your narrative, actually? Let's see. Michael Rudnin, another important message. Eric, an economy left alone via laissez-faire capitalism invariably results a widened wealth gap and widespread poverty among the masses, along with the destruction of the commons. This is why leftists don't leave things alone. We don't want people suffering in poverty and dissolution. Exactamente, señor. Tú sabes lo que estás diciendo. You know what you're saying. Paul Fleming says, women plead guilty to plotting power grid attacks with Florida neo-Nazi leader, Nazis in Florida, because Florida. All right, let's see. Michael says, Eric uses MSNBC, equal, not equal, agrees with MSNBC. Most of the time, Egberto posts from MSNBC or CNN here, it is to point out something they messed up at. And even if I'm pointing out something that they didn't mess up at, it's to give the proper narrative. Well, I guess that's because they messed up. You're right, Michael Rudnin. All right, E2247 says, come in, Tom. See, I applaud your effort and your risking self-disclosure each time you offer us your work. Thanks, and keep on keeping on. That's what he meant right there. Okay, let's see. Mike Cesek says, Michael Rudnin, that view you described doesn't happen in laissez-faire capital society. A socialist society, on the other hand, results in a large pool population with few rich in power elites. That's that's not true at all. Go to Scandinavian countries. Go to the Scandinavian countries and don't tell me, oh, they're homogeneous. No, they have a very good balance of socialism and free enterprise. And notice I don't call it capitalism. Okay? I do not call it capitalism. All right. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Uh, let's see what else we got here. Let messes it up look current. All right. I got a video. This one is on, I hope it works, but I want to show you something here real quick. Remember a few days ago, we spoke about MMT. I try to enlighten folks and let folks know that, I must pause. Let me pause for a minute. Mike Cisak, I know you love to bring up Russia, Venezuela, Cuba, and North Korea. Those aren't socialist countries, okay? I know you'd like that to be that way. Venezuela attempted to be a socialist country till America really blew it to smithereens with the things that they imposed on them. Likewise, Cuba. Even with all the pressures from America, Cuba still was able to have a healthcare system that, with all its problems, still their healthcare system outdoes America's. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, with people living longer, and we supposedly have the best healthcare system in the world. Now, Russia is a basket case. North Korea is a basket case. But Venezuela and Cuba are around. I am Latin America. These are Latin American countries that America had to make sure they failed. America had to make sure Venezuela and Cuba failed. Venezuela had to fail because there's no way we were going to make sure that all the oil in Venezuela belonged to we the people. Just like in America, the oil does not belong to we the people, even though it should be. We allow we the plutocracy to take our oil. They couldn't allow a country to flourish where it has natural resources that make all the people a successful people. Okay? So let's get that clear. I know that doesn't follow the narrative you've been indoctrinated into, but just a little bit of research on your own would prove that point. Anyway, after I gave you that little bit of info here, I want to remind folks of what I said a few weeks ago, or maybe a few days ago. America should not be borrowing money from the plutocrats to fulfill our deficit spending. In fact, we should print money for our deficit spending as long as we're doing the deficit spending in a non-inflationary manner. And is that possible? Absolutely. And Stephanie Kelton points out the slack in our economy that determines that. The inflation that we have today is not caused because of shortages. It is caused because of corporate greed. Okay? And that's a statement of fact. Now, what I want you guys to do is listen to when one of our economists, and this is a Democratic economist, was challenged. And one of the reasons I like to play around in the good part of TikTok, the part of TikTok that's educational, is because you have people that concentrate a lot of things that make sense. And this particular user is World News Coverage. Don't know much about the account. I just know about this particular video. And I want you guys to listen to this, and then we will take it on the other side. Let me see. I had that working earlier today. So let's see how I can get it working again. And I think I know how I get it working again. Bear with me 1 second. I think I got to change what I'm talking about here now. Let's go ahead and do it one more time. And here we go.
The U.S. government can't go bankrupt because we can print our own money.
It obviously begs the question, why exactly are we borrowing in a currency that we print ourselves? I'm waiting for someone to stand up and say, why do we borrow our own currency in the first place?
Like you said, they print the dollar. So why does the government even borrow?
Well, again, some of this stuff gets some of the language that some of the language and concepts are just confusing. I mean, the government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends that money, which is why the government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by selling bonds. Is that what they do? They sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds, right? Since they sell bonds and people buy the bonds and lend them the money. Yeah. So a lot of times, at least to my ear with MMT, the language and the concepts can be kind of unnecessarily confusing, but there is no question that the government prints money and then it uses that money to, I guess I can't really talk. I don't get it. I don't know what they're talking about. Like, cause it's like the government clearly prints money. It does it all the time, and it clearly borrows. Otherwise we wouldn't be having this debt and deficit conversation. So I don't think there's anything confusing there.
He doesn't think there's anything confusing there, yet he sounds completely confused as he tries to explain the fallacy. Well, I'm not an economist. I just studied economics. Okay? Not an economist, but I just studied economics. It's amazing. And the reason he could answer the question is because it makes no sense that we are borrowing money from the plutocrats for deficit spending. So let's make it very, very, very simple, because it is simple. When we borrow money from the rich people, we are still spending more money than we take in taxes, right? And we are also further expanding the money supply by paying these guys an interest rate. So we have the excess money that we borrow and spend in the economy, plus we give them more money in interest. So the totality of the money for that year is the extra money that we spent from borrowing from them, plus the extra money that we give to them as interest payments to their loan, which we all pay for. That is no more inflationary than us printing money on our own. And let me explain why in the aggregate. The rich person who has enough money to lend to the government, to take out of circulation, likely would otherwise put that money elsewhere that has nothing to do with spending, right? In other words, if we take that money out, if we take that money from them, that doesn't increase or reduce their spending. Now you may say, well, they may have it invested somewhere else. True, they may have it invested somewhere else that they would have hoped is creating some value. But when it's gone into the coffers of the United States government takes it and spends it right away. So the fact that we borrow money for deficit spending, having a sovereign currency, makes absolutely no sense. And the reason why Jared Bernstein couldn't explain it is because while he's attempting to explain it, he comes to the realization of what I just told you. It's amazing. He would have to come to the realization of what I just told you, that it makes no sense. In fact, he creates more money in the totality by using the money of the plutocrats to get our deficit spending under control. To deficit spend. Might as well just print the money. And then you don't have that extra cost of interest. And better, you don't have that every single year having to increase the amount of the interest that you're paying. We are paying several $100 billion in interest payments to rich people every single year. It is so important for us to understand economics. You know, when people try to speak about our credit card, the government's credit card, the government doesn't have any damn credit cards. The government's credit card is infinite. It's infinite. And I'm not kidding you. The dollar is backed by nothing. Even when we claimed the dollar was backed by gold, it was a ridiculous statement. You can't eat gold. Having gold means what? Your money is only and ever valued for countries with sovereign currency. The EU that has the euro, America that has the dollar, Russia that has the come on guys, help me with the Russian currency. The colon in every country that has its own currency. The ruble. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. I remembered it before. I got it from Michael Rudnin. The mind is getting old. Thank you, CSAC and Rudnin. Both of you came out with it about the same time. So it is important for us to understand math. It is important for us to understand economics. It's also important for us to understand the circulation of money. And what our deficits and borrowing money for our deficits is doing is simply yet another avenue for rich people to take our money to the top. Let's go through this as I've always done once again. How many ways for rich people to take your money? When they want to pay a small amount of taxes, they don't want to pay their fair share in taxes, so we give them that money. So we deficit spend and they loan us back the money that we allowed them to keep. Right? So they loan us back that money. And then they make money on that money they loan us. So we are starting to give them money, just free money for using the money that they didn't pay, that they should have paid. And then for the monies that they have left invested in the stock market, we create a special tax rate for them that says capital is taxed at a lower rate than income of the persons who work. And then we have the sycophants in our society that decides that, well, somehow these wealthy individuals who, by the way, built their wealth on your work, they built their wealth on your intellect, they built their work on all you have to offer. They just play with numbers. They just play with numbers. And then we have the nerve, some of us, to sit back and defend what they're doing as if what they're doing is honorable. No, it's not. It's not even close to honorable. It is the theft of all of us. It's the theft from all of us. But while we were indoctrinated for decades into how capitalism works, we just took it at face value. We just took it. Brothers and sisters, that's why we have Politics Done Right and a few other programs like this, to try to bring some sanity into our thinking. And luckily, we're getting through to a lot of the Gen Zs who are not buying either the democratic neoliberal mumbo jumbo or the right wing Nazi, all that crazy things that they believe in. The problem is, because of the Supreme Court, because of the judiciary, it's making life very much difficult. And what we have to do is convince many of the others that there is a better way and a better way to produce, a better way to get things done. Okay? All right. Our first video of the day is a little piece, a little rant that I did this morning at KPFT. So let's go ahead and get busy with it. Uno, dos, tres. Family needs over corporate greed. Several years ago, and I think some of you who listen to the show regularly would have heard part of this story. We constantly get new listeners. This is a story that I want to point out. This group was trying to get people together from different ideological perspectives, and I was the one representing what people would call the far left. We had me representing the far left progressives. You had a Democrat. You also had a person sitting in the middle. Then you had that center-right person, and then you had the right-winger. And we started talking about what people needed. And the kinds of programs that I came up with were things like, yes, we have to have Medicare for all. Everybody should be able to simply go to a doctor with a card. There should be no money exchanges, any of that. Your health and your well-being shouldn't be dependent on you being able to have some cash to go to a doctor, because two things that does, right? It means that it holds you back from going to see a doctor, when a lot of times if you went to a doctor a bit earlier, things would be better. And likewise, your health shouldn't depend on whether you're rich or poor, work for minimum wage or otherwise. That's one of the things that I said. I also said that we needed to have childcare. Childcare meaning that, everybody, our society always talks about loving family values and wanting to have people work, if you want to be a productive citizen. But there are many people who want to work, but we also want people to have kids. And if they can't afford to put their kids in daycare or put their kids somewhere secure while they're working, and they don't have a place where they don't have to worry about their kids while they're working, one, efficiency goes down because they're worried about the kids, or two, they don't go to work at all because they don't have any support for their kids. So that is one thing. The other thing is having everybody housed, right? In other words, if you go around our country, there are empty homes all over the place. There is some problem with having a match between people and homes. So you go to a place like Sacramento or Houston, or downtown Houston, you go to a place like San Francisco, LA, New York City, and we have all these people that are living on the streets in a country that is very, very rich. And we are a very rich country. So we need to have all these. So I laid out what most would call the progressive agenda. And, the Democrat agreed with me, but said, well, but we have to make sure that, they sounded pretty much like any standard neoliberal Democrat sounded today, the person in the middle as well. Now, the person on the right, the first thing he said, Egberto, all that sounds great, but how does that affect business? And when he said that, I kind of paused for a while, and I said, aren't you a Republican that believes in family values and the support for the family and all these other issues? Yes. But when you speak about these issues, when you speak about these policies, you have to ask how it affects business, because business is what makes this country run. And I said, no, families is what makes this country run. If you have good families, business would follow. In other words, we don't create families for business. We create business based on our sustained social model. Social model being, how do we want to exist as a society, right? During the days of the robber barons back in the 1920s, etc., all the concentration of monies went to the top, and it kept on progressively getting that way to the point that eventually all crashed. And it's not by accident. These things are just based on numbers, right? And eventually you don't have the bottom being able to support the top, which is where we have headed again, and where we continue to head in our policies. So this occurs because of how we elect, or who we have elected, and where these people's loyalties eventually lie. It's not an affordability issue. It's an issue about priority. So when I read this article that says families needs over corporate greed, that just opened up that panel that I sat on again, where here we constantly have this fight of yearning for our politicians to pass policies that look at families first and make sure that our business model fits around families, from the amount of time that we have to work per hour, to the amount of leaves that we get, to the support we have for children, to the medical policies that we pass to make sure that everybody have health care.
we spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely. Help us, please join. If you are on YouTube, click that join button. I'm pretty sure you'll find the good reason to be a part of our PDR posse. So please consider joining. Yes, we need the support. I want to play you another piece here. The FTC chair, Lina Khan, should take Jim Cramer's unhinged. Let me go ahead and put that on the screen. Let's go real quickly. Okay. Lina Khan is a chair of the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. And boy, the plutocracy hates her. I tell you what, before I get to the plutocracy hating Lina Khan, let me go to some of what you guys are saying. Let's go up here. Tom Sarnik says, thanks, E2247. My extended limericks usually have the form something like AABBCCDDA. In my rhyme rants, the message is more important than the form. Same with politics. You can be a Democrat or a Republican as long as you believe in the U.S. as a democratic republic that defends our inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Love the way you said that. Michael Rudden points out that Venezuela went downhill during Chavez's, or rather, CSAC says Michael Chavez went downhill during Chavez's term. And Michael correctly answered later on, but study MMT and you'll never get your answer. Study MMT and you'll never get your answer. There needs to be enough money in the system to account for goods and services. That's why the government print money and uses debt. If you have more money in the system than goods and services, then you get inflation, so you can't just keep printing money. The government uses taxes to provide goods and services. You should check the national priorities pie chart for what they're spending your tax dollars on. Do you understand the basics? Now you should. But I tell you something else, brother. If you take a look, is spending your money on bombs that blow crap up a good use, or is that wasteful spending? I think it's, you know. All right, Bruce Pollard says, no. Do we print money to pay for improvements for highways and bridges? Absolutely so. Here's the thing about people who say no to that, right? Here's the funny thing. If I spend deficit spending just to go ahead and feed people, right? You feed them once, that would be like a permanent state of deficits, right? If you're always collecting more to feed people, etc. Although there are reasons to believe that even that can be mitigated. But what they don't understand, Brother Bruce, and I'm glad that you ask that question. All you're doing is exchanging one form of money, one form of capital for another when you build a bridge. And it behoves me that intelligent economists don't see that. When you buy a mortgage, your house is the representation of that mortgage. If you stop paying your mortgage, the bank still has your house. The same thing with a bridge. The bridge is there, but the bridge is even better than your mortgage because the bridge is executing on increased commerce. The amazing thing is that these guys, the business people, they don't have a lot of steers, okay? But the economists do. And they understand the formulas that run economics. I took economics, macro and microeconomics. I could see it as we were learning it, right? I could see the parts that were crappy based on just basic engineering mathematics, right? Not even complex algorithms were necessary. So Bruce, your point, Bruce, is so important because when you take money to build a bridge, you are exchanging the value of that bridge for the money. And then when you add that employees build that bridge, you're adding circulation to money, to spending that further increase economic activity. this is simple, Bruce, and that there are people who choose not to understand it. It's amazing to me. But it all plays into the plutocrats picture of not wanting most people to succeed. Okay? Sales of raw milk appear to be on the rise despite years of warning about the risk of health drinking unpasteurized products. It's crazy some of the things that we do, you know. What can I say? Crazy some of the things that we do. All right. Let's see what else we got here that should be read. Let's see. Kaido is considering downgrading its diplomatic ties with Israel due to the Rafah operation, Egyptian official told Wall Street Journal. Far-right Israelis are claiming set ablaze 2 aid trucks bound for Gaza. Yeah, I think they should cut relationships altogether. All right, Michael Rudden says, Lee, all right, let's take a look. Oregon Broadcasting Study says drug decriminalization in Oregon did not cause more overdose deaths. Corey Davis, an assistant clinical professor at New York University Grossman School of Medicine and the study's senior investigator, said in a statement, our analysis suggests that state decriminalization policies do not lead to increases in overdose deaths. Overdoses went up basically everywhere, Davis told OPB. What didn't happen is that they didn't seem to go up more in Oregon after drug decriminalization. Measure 110 went into effect. You know, again, sometimes math doesn't mean much, right? To some people. All right, let's go ahead and do the Khan thing. Let's go ahead. I think I can play that 59 seconds of work. First of all, let me play that, and then I'll read a little bit of the story. Here we go.
Lina Khan, Lina Khan, Lina Khan, Lina Khan, Khan, Lina Khan, Lina Khan, Lina Khan, Lina Khan, Lina Khan, Lina Khan. Do you think the FTC keeps Khan if we get Trump as president? I mean, she almost sits there and thinks, you know what, today I'm going to say something really stupid. I am entitled to my stupid positions. That's a hack view, which would fit in lockstep with what she's been doing. She is anti the man. The FTC is back in that role of torturing all the companies that America likes. If you want to see the rest of the market go higher, President Biden just needs to replace his FTC chair, Lina Khan.
We talk more often about Lina Khan at the FTC, but Jonathan Cantor is...
I'm in awe of Cantor. Cantor's just a serious heavyweight lawyer. Jonathan Cantor is a much more rigorous thinker. She's become an empty suit. And then there's Cantor, who runs antitrust. Total heavyweight. Now she's Don Quixote. What? She's Don Quixote.
I love how you bring everything back to, what's that got to do with anything?
What's that got to do? You kind of wonder, why is it again that he can go against Khan and not any other person? It's amazing. You guys can kind of think about it. And this guy's supposed to be a progressive, right? Progressive, my you know what. All right, so it goes like this. FTC, Lina Khan should take Jim Cramer's unhinged obsession as a badge of honor. I agree. The American Economic Liberties Project on Monday called out CNBC's Jim Cramer for at least dozens of hostile televised attacks on Federal Trade Commission Chair Lina Khan and her historic pro-working families record. The left-leaning group has been compiling Cramer's most egregious on-air outbursts over Khan since early last year, and its tracker now features more than 30 clips from Mad Money and Squawk on the Street. When President Joe Biden nominated Khan to lead the FTC in 2021, she was an associate professor of law at Columbia Law School who had previously worked for Open Markets Institute, the office of former Commissioner Rohit Chopra, and the U.S. House Judiciary Committee's subcommittees on antitrust, commercial, and administrative law. As the clips collected by the project shows, Cramer has described Khan as an empty suit, stupid, and total hack. The ex-hedge fund manager has also compared the agency leaders' views to those of Vladimir Lenin, Karl Marx, and Don Quixote. Cramer has called out specific FTC actions under Khan, repeatedly blasting a lawsuit against Amazon, a company founded by one of the richest persons on the planet, and broadly accused the rogue agency of torturing all the companies that America likes. When one of Cramer's colleagues pointed out last October that he has taken every opportunity to just come back to Khan, he responded, "No, I've missed opportunities and I regret that." The tracker page states that if Cramer was accurately reporting what the FTC is doing, he would see the chair Khan is pursuing a pro-business, pro-innovation, and pro-worker agenda. and he is capable of it. He did, for example, proclaim the FTC's case against Kroger Albertson to be strong. Noting Cramer's praise for Jonathan Cantor, an assistant attorney general at the Department of Justice, whom the host has called a heavyweight and rigorous thinker, the page adds that he is so blinded by his obsession of Chair Khan that he sometimes even rails against her for suits brought by the DOJ and forgets to give the Antitrust Division credit for its work. America Economic Project spokesperson Jimmy Warderko said in a statement Monday that Jim Cramer's anger over the FTC's enforcement record has turned into a full-blown obsession, launching nearly weekly barbs at Chair Khan with the zeal of a carnival barker defending his turf. This has manifested on national cable news through a series of unhinged, incoherent, and often inaccurate rants from Jim Cramer attacking the FTC for standing up to big corporations and delivering kitchen table wins to working families. Given Jim Cramer's role as mouthpiece and cheerleader for monopolists across the economy, Chair Khan should consider his harassment a badge of honor. We hope to see Jim Cramer get over his fixation syndrome, which is evidently even starting to frustrate his colleague as soon as he is able. Folks, read that article. It's by Jessica Corbett at Common Dreams. But, you wonder, again, you see how he didn't go like that with the male counterpart of, persuasion. But Lina Khan, wrong name, one gender, one ethnicity. Wow. You can just attack in that fashion. Amazing. This is what we call watch it in action. Watch it live. Anyway, folks, we're coming close to the end of the program, and I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Twitter has started to really pick up on our viewership, as well as Twitter has started to pick up. Now, we didn't have as much on YouTube today, but please, folks, do remember, click that join button, become a member on YouTube. But here are many ways that you can help ensure that we get the appropriate progressive message out. Many ways to do that. And let me just tell you, folks, we cannot do this without you. So please remember to go ahead. You can go to politicsdoneright.com/support. That has all the links that shows you how you can support our program. politicsdoneright.com/support gives you all the links to support the program. But specifically, we're trying to raise our profile on Patreon. So please go ahead and support us on Patreon. Patreon is spelled Patreon. You can go ahead and subscribe at politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. politicsdoneright.com/Patreon, spelled Patreon. You can also support us by becoming or by getting some of our books. And what are our books? And let me tell you a little bit about our books. politicsdoneright.com/books is where you can pick up our books, all of them. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Great book. How to Make America Utopia. Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. And guess what? Bruce edited that book. It's worth it. How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. And Norman Reynolds narrated that book. So these books, a lot of our PDR Posse folks played a role in it. Some of you have stories in some of my books. I can't remember them right now, but you've told me things and it have ended up in the book. So you can go to politicsdoneright.com/books to go ahead and get our books. And what I'm asking as many of you as you can, and it's not, I need to get more people to sign up for our newsletter as paid subscribers. I mean, everybody can sign up as subscribers, but as paid subscribers, it's like getting a coffee a month for Politics Done Right. And it's well worth it. Your money is well used. I mean, I can tell you, we live frugally to be able to do this. In fact, I'm going to have to come for an ask later on for our trip to Baltimore for Netroots Nation. I need to get a new banner piece that I'm trying to get with the barcode, with the barcode. They don't call it barcode. What do we call it? that signal on it. But anyway, go ahead and go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter to become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please consider becoming a part of our paid family at that newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. All right, folks, got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what?
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say.